Hi guys, Thogrey here with a new video, and this video will be my 2v2 tier list video, partner wise, for your Fury Warrior. So if you're a Fury Warrior and you want to find the ideal DPS or healer to pair with you to gain rating, this video is for you. Of course, again, it's also preference. Some people prefer to play with a healer, some people prefer to play double DPS, but that's alright. We are going to discuss everything right away. This is the Fury Warrior tier list video for 2v2. There will be also a PvP guide very soon, but let's discuss right away about Fury Warriors in 2v2 and which comps you can go in for a bit more in depth. I did make a 2v2 comp videos where I discuss about the main comps for every spec, so if you want to check that out you can, but if you want to have a more in-depth analysis on which DPS or healer you can play with in 2v2 and still have success, this video is for you. So let's start right away with Affliction Warlock. So remember, Fury Warrior is the one DPS, and then you will need to find a partner, of course. So Affliction Warlock as a partner is not that great. Affliction Warlocks in general, they need another caster to make it work in double DPS, because or else you're not going to enjoy your time. You will not be able to actually cast anything. Your drain life will not save you, because often than not they will have a stun or a fear to actually interrupt it. Your unending resolve will not save you. Your circle will also not save you. So for me, it is really a D tier spec to play with as a Fury Warrior. Arcane Mages, it's quite the same really, because they will have to cast, and the Fury Warrior will be probably carrying that comp. If you're winning games, it is basically because the Fury Warrior can one-shot someone, or they're going to destroy someone. But the Arcane Mage can't really defend themselves in that comp. You're going to suffer. As an Arcane Mage, you're not going to have fun with a Fury Warrior, and for me, for this reason, you are D tier. A double warrior, so basically I'm going to rate arms warrior and fury warrior at the same time. It is actually an okay comp. It just does a lot of damage. You will have to play both impending victory to sustain yourself, try to fear your targets, try to intervene to get like CDs, a rotation of CDs. So once his die by the sword is down and you still have your CDs, intervene the arms warrior so you can spend your CD to like prevent from dying, and of course with impending victory trying to get your health up. So for me, it's actually an average comp. It's not bad. It is definitely workable. It's not meta at all, but I think it's also fun to do. You can really do a lot of great things as double warrior. I think there's a few comps where you are going to suffer, like basically with a Wrestle Druid, you're going to suffer, for example. But you're going to be all right, I guess. So Fury Warriors and Arms Warrior both at B tier for a partner Fury Warrior. So Assassination Rogues. It's a rogue spec, so you can make it work by one-shotting someone before they actually go for the rogue. I think the main part is how are you going to survive as a rogue in that comp? They can focus you, they can make your life miserable. I think it's still better than a caster, so for me it's C tier, but really an assassination rogue kind of needs a healer friend, because it's often some burst damage, which you will need to have a second go to often kill a target, often with a healer. If it's double DPS versus double DPS, again, an assassination rogue can do the job, because he will do, if he's Night Fae, accepts his Vendetta with a Shiv, and then go for Envenom, for example, or a 6-second Kidney, it most likely will kill the target. But if you're playing versus a healer, it becomes a bit difficult for that comp to actually survive and thrive. Balanced Druid. So you may be surprised, but Balanced Druid is one of the better classes in twos, playing with a double DPS, for example, with a melee, because they have bear form. They can actually play Resto Affinity if they really desire. You can do some nasty things like root beaming the healer is pretty good. You can play Convoke, and the warrior can, like a Fury Warrior. If you're playing with a Fury Warrior, basically the Fury Warrior needs to play Kyrian. So you can Spear of Bastion and then have your Boomy to actually convoke the target by your Root Beam the healer, and you convoke the DPS, and often than not it will result with a Trinket of the healer or a Trinket of the DPS to actually defend themselves. themselves versus that. So for me, it's actually an A-tier comp, double DPS wise. It is meta. It's not obnoxious. You're not going, but you will win games with a balanced druid as a fury warrior. You might still play impending victory, because if they go for you, you will need to survive. Often not with those double DPS comps. You will play with impending victory. But I mean, it's enjoyable. You play with Battle Trance, for example, it will tick for 5k. Since now the health bars are a bit higher, it becomes a bit more useful to play Battle Trance. So in general, I think it's a good thing to play with Balance Druid. So Balance and BM Hunter, I think they are really not that great in double DPS comps, because they lack the burstiness that needs to be a double DPS comp. It's mostly consistent damage. Your traps can make you win games, but again, how can you sustain whenever they're going for you as a BM Hunter whenever you play with a Fury Warrior? That's not going to happen. So for me, it is probably better than Caster, because you have tools to defend yourself. You don't really need to cast anything to do damage. For me, deserves a C tier spot. So Demonology Warlock is a bit the same as Affliction Warlocks and mages, like Arcane Mages in general, or just mages in general. For me, it's a D tier spec to play double DPS with a warrior. It's the same for Demonology. They don't really want a melee, they want another cast if you want to play double DPS. But they will lack the actual damage, because they will just get countered by multiple comps. Of course, double DPS versus double DPS, it really depends about which double DPS comp is good. If you're playing versus a non-meta double DPS comp, you might still win, but it's more of a coin flip, really. And I feel like the warrior will carry the games more often than the Demonology Warlock. You might still win games with a Demonology Warlock, but it's so random. It depends about the comps you're facing more than anything else. So for me, it's a D tier spec as a DPS comp for Fury Warriors, and the same for Destruction Warlock. Destruction Warlock needs, like for example, a Frost Mage, because they will need another caster to actually alleviate a bit of pressure from them, or a Shadow Priest or whatever. But for me, yeah, Destruction, they're just not good. At the moment, Destruction Warlocks are not great. But in a double DPS comp with a melee, you're going to suffer. And if you're going to win games, it is probably because of the warrior, because the warrior can do good things. But is it the comp being good, or is it because of the warrior being good? And for me, it is more about the warrior. Disc Priest. So now we have our first healer, and for me, healer comps are often just better than any other comps for a Fury Warrior. It is A plus. It does a lot of damage. It has sustain. If you play Kyrian as a disc priest, you can really one-shot KO, like one KO someone out of the blue. You will win most double DPS comps. You'll maybe struggle versus rogue mage, but that's always the case, really. You will suffer versus demon hunters more often, because again, disc priests, they are going to get trained. People are just not going to let you do anything. And a demon hunter can really be annoying versus you. And a Wrestle Druid with a demon hunter becomes very hard for the Fury Warrior to actually do something versus them. So A plus. Elemental Shaman. So I guess Elemental Shaman is not as bad as Affliction Warlock, Demonology Warlocks, Destruction Warlock, because they have Lightning Lasso, they have some off healing, they can play Earth Shield Legendary, and they should play Earth Shield Legendary in double TPS comps. So for me, it's still better than those casters, because they have the component of surviving. If you have an Earth Shield Legendary, it will pop for 10k, so it's still a very good thing to play for. And for me, it deserves the C tier spot. It's not meta by any means. I would say it's B tier. It's still better than Rogue and BM, because they have the Earth Shield Legendary. If you're not playing Earth Shield Legendary, just don't play with a Fury Warrior, please. You're going to die instantly. But if you play the more passive build as Elemental Shaman with Lightning Lasso 2, and you try to peel yourself as much as possible, the Fury Warrior can do something for you. By playing Spear of Bastion, you will have some time to actually cast, and it will be more of a dampening comp for a double DPS comp, because you're not going to one-shot anyone. but you will have more agency, and your lightning lasso can be a very good factor to actually kill the DPS. If you're lightning lassoing the healer whenever they are going to kick your lava burst, for example, they will not have anything to actually deal with the lightning lasso, and your fury warrior can really decimate a DPS in 5 seconds. So it's actually a alright comp. Enhancement Shaman. So in my opinion, it is probably one of the best, if not the best, double DPS combat you can play as a Fury Warrior. You will have such a great time. I do play double DPS as well as my Fury Warrior, and it will be often with the Enhancement Shaman. It's a turbo cleave, but without a healer, and it is just fantastic. If the Enhancement Shaman plays really passively, because if he goes all out with lightning bolts, it is not going to work. But if he plays with like trying to heal as much as possible, try to static field totem whenever you need to kite, try to actually sustain yourself and themselves, trying to hex the targets. It will make your comp actually very enjoyable to play. And IMO, I really liked my moments to play with an Enhancement Shaman. I really recommend people to play with an Enhancement Shaman with a Fury Warrior, and you're going to really have a great time. You're going to win games. You're going to feel great. The games will not last super long. People will not notice the amount of damage you both do. Of course, it is more fun for the Fury Warrior because often than not they will go for the enhance, and if they go for you, the Enhancement Shaman has all the time in the world to actually peel for you, so that's fantastic. Please play Impending Victory so you can actually heal yourself 40% every 25 seconds. It's pretty big. Okay, with dampening it's a bit less, but you still will have enough sustain to actually enjoy your time. So Enhancement Shaman, great comp. Frost Decay. Frost Decay is a bit the same boat as Fury Warriors and Arms Warriors. But Frost Decay, they are quite D tier really in twos. They lack the consistent damage, and they are very predictable whenever they're bursting. But if you're pairing with a Fury Warrior, which is playing Spear of Bastion, and you grab both of them and you blinding sleet them, the Fury Warrior will have all the time in the world to actually spear them, and then you have a big chill streak, and that chill streak go might just 1 KO someone. But again, you will have to play more passively, probably spam death strikes, try to run away with death advance, and the other ability that makes you unslowable. That's a very good comp at the moment. But is it better than playing with a healer or a hybrid healer? I don't know. So for me, it's a B tier spec to play with as a Fury Warrior. Feral Druids, they are quite the same. They are, I would say, on the level as Boomkin, because they can play Resto Affinity, they can do crazy good healing, they can have a lot of peeling, they have Cyclones. You can really play dampening with that comp. And Feral Druids, again, they are really mobile and versatile versus all of comps. I think that comp might work, although I still think Enhancement Shaman is probably better because of the off heals that it provides, Chain Harvest, and everything that goes around with it. You can also play without Chain Harvest with Enhancement Shaman. You can play Necrolord, but Chain Harvest is so big in twos to actually sustain yourself and your teammates that you should do that. And Feral Druids don't really have that amount of healing, but they have a lot of peeling, and that peeling is very important for a Fury Warrior to actually sustain if they are going for them. And if they go for the Feral for the Feral Druid, they can really sustain a lot by going Bear form. If they are Restore Affinity, they can heal themselves pretty bigly, or they go for a Bear form affinity, Guardian Affinity, and that's alright. Or you can even play the Guardian Druid legendary that can actually sustain you every time you're doing Bark Skin. That's also an option. So again, you have a lot of flexibility, but you will have some specific builds you will have to require to actually play with Fury Warrior and be successful with it. Fire Mages and Frost Mages are D tier for me in double DPS comp with a Fury Warrior. I don't think it's good. If you're winning, it is basically because they're all going for the Fury Warrior instead of the Mage. Why would you do that? And if you're winning and they're going for the Mage, pretty much you're going to carry the comps, and that's also not really the goal of this tier list, really. So Demon Hunters, they are alright, I guess, B tier. It's the same as Arms Warrior. You will have to use your darkness very efficiently, blur, try to peel with your CC, I guess. You can win games, but I don't know. I think it lacks the actual damage from a Arms Warrior or Fury Warrior. But okay, it's B tier, I guess. You can make it work. It's the same as Frost DK, really. You can play Necrolord as a warrior, and then you can boost the damage of the Demon Hunter. The Demon Hunter can do some nasty damage, for example. But yeah, I guess B tier. Holy Priest, I think it's a solid S tier. The only reason why it's above Disc Priest, it's basically because they have a stun. So you can play double time, for example, or you can play Impending Victory, or you can even play double stun, so with Stormbolt and the Chastise stun, and basically give you like a great CC option on the healer. So you go for Chastise stun on the healer, Stormbolt on the DPS, Fear on the healer, and then you have like all the time in the world to actually kill the DPS. So that's a very good option. Also, Holy Priestess are just more safe in twos than Disc Priest. They have Fade, they can jump in the sky, they can also play the Resurrection Legendary, basically giving you a second life. So you have a lot of good options with a Holy Priest. Holy Paladin is for me A+. Really, Holy Paladins are not that great at the moment because of the specs that you are playing. Versus specific comps, you're going to win super hard and it will feel like a S tier healer, but versus other comps, it will feel like you're better off with a DPS, for example. So for me, it is a plus healer. Remember, everything is not like in order. So for me, Disc Priest, Holy Paladin, and Enhancement Shaman are quite the same level. So don't think Enhancement Shaman is better than the healers. It's not the case. For me, it's all equal. It depends on how and what comp you want to play and what comp you desire to play with. Marksmanship Hunter, I guess it's a bit better than BVM because it has the one-shot capacity. So they will go for the Fury Warrior at the start of the game, then they will go for the MM. And if the MM actually plays a bit of kiting game, you can really one-shot someone the first or second go. And it's easy. The games are going to be very slow. Some games you're going to auto-lose because you're playing versus specific specs. But other games you will feel like it is free CR, like basically doing big damage as an MM, and your Fury Warrior also giving the 40% mortal wound effect is pretty big with Slaughterhouse. For me, MM is a average spec to play with as a Fury Warrior. Mistweaver Monks, they are A+, the same. I think they lack the actual damage. Actually, I think it's S. I think it's S. I'm going to clarify why, because you're not playing versus another, like you're playing often not DPS healer and not double DPS. Double DPS, it will be a bit more different for Mistweaver Monks, but versus healers, you're going to sustain more, you're going to have more mana, you have also crazy CC with Paralyze, Leg Sweep, and you can even play the Sleep. So you have some great things going on as a Mistweaver. You're also going to improve the damage of the warrior by actually putting the 5% debuff on the target. So you have plenty of good things going on. I think still Holy Priestess are probably better because they have the damage that Mistweaver Monks don't have. But Mistweaver Monks can even play the Fistweave Monks, which basically will give you a bit more damage, but also sustains by hitting people, and you will have more options by doing double leg sweeps, for example. So all in all, I think it's a great comp to play in as a Fury Warrior with a Mistweaver Monk. Outlaw Rogue, the same as Assassination Rogue. Basically, you're going to either win because of the CC or lose because you don't have the sustain. So that it's really a coin flip. I don't personally enjoy playing with a outlaw rogue and maybe just rogues in general. So for me, a subtlety rogue is the same. They are all C tier. They can work because you have CC, but most often than not, you're going to win because of an upset, for example, or because you played very well. But you're not going to win because of your comp, basically. Wrestle Druid is for me A+. I think I would even say A. I don't like playing with a Resto Druid as a warrior because the Resto Druid cannot help me doing damage. Wrestle Druids in general, they prefer to play with a Affliction Warlock, for example, because they can go cat form and actually help them doing damage. But with a warrior, the damages are so fluctuating, and your health bars are going to go up, down, up, down. But for a Wrestle Druid, they are just going to heal, and that's it. Even doing a Cyclone is very risky. And for me, just for that, I think the difference between a Disc Priest and a Wrestle Druid is a bit much to put them at the same line. So for me, it's still meta, but it is not going to be as good as Disc Priest or Holy Paladin. Another A plus, and I would even say S tier comp with a Retribution Paladin. If you're playing Necrolord, you're going to boost their damage, and really in the opener, you can really destroy people. The Paladin needs to off heal more often than not. But the good thing is, if you're playing Impending Victory, you will have the sustain to actually sustain some damage, but also just the damage by the Retribution Paladin might make them actually drop and make them backpedal because of the damage, you know? So I think it's a good comp. If you want to have a double DPS comp, regardless of anything, just play with an Enhancement Shaman or with a Retribution Paladin and you will have a great time. You're playing with, like, let's say an Arms Warrior or Fury Warrior, you might win games, but you might be also super frustrated because, again, you don't have the sustain, you don't have the protection to actually win some games that were normally possible with another comp, for example. Resto Shaman for me is the other S tier healer for Fury Warriors. They have the damage, they have the sustain, they have the utility, they have everything that the Fury Warriors want. The only thing that Shamans will lack is probably the throughput healing. But again, I think it's a bit better if your Fury Warrior goes for Impending Victory, so that some moments where you have that lack of healing, you can heal yourself. Every 25 seconds doing 40% max health, healing yourself is pretty big, really. It's a nasty heal. So I will just give you the idea to actually play with either those three healers or even the Enhancement Shaman with the Retribution Paladin. I think those 5 specs are very nice paired with a Fury Warrior. Shadow Priest. So Shadow Priest for me is another A tier comp. I would say B tier still. I think Shadow Priest, they will just not enjoy their time. They will get consumed by the other team. You're going to win because of the CC, because they can really do great CC, but after that, I feel like the Shadow Priest will just die instantly. So the first minute you will survive, and then after the first minute, your comp is dead. So basically, it will be a fast food comp. You're either winning the first go, or you're going to lose at the second go. And I don't really enjoy playing with a Shadow Priest, because the Shadow Priest itself, I think, prefers to play with a caster or even with a rogue. But I feel like with a warrior, you're going to have difficult times to actually win games. Survival Hunter for me is the same as in C tier, because again they need a healer. They are more consistent than MM, but they will need a healer to actually be consistent. You will just get focused, get direct turtle on yourself, and then you're dead the 30 seconds after the turtle. So I'm not really rating Survival Hunter very high with a Fury Warrior. I still think it's better than Costas though. Unholy DK, it's the same B tier as Frost DK. They have the damage. They kind of sustain themselves quite alright. If you're playing versus casters, you're going to win probably the matchup versus double DPS casters. But if you're playing versus, like, let's say a Fury Warrior with a Resto Shaman, you're not going to win that matchup. You're going to get destroyed by the Fury Warrior on you, and you can really do nothing about that. So for me, it's a B tier spec. Still better than the C tiers, because the C tiers are consistent. At least the B tier has some CC or some healing or some burstiness that can actually provide you the fast kills. But the same for Windwalker, really. Windwalker, I think it's C tier because, again, I would say it's B tier. I'm going to explain why. They have the big one-shot thing, and then the game is over. Either you're going to win or you're going to lose. It's not enjoyable to play. Already in trees, it's not really enjoyable to play with a Windwalker as a warrior, because you're both super squishy. But in twos, I mean, it's either you break or you actually break people. So it's alright. I guess you can make it work. But if I have to recommend to you guys what comp you could play in 2v2 with your Fury Warrior, I would say play with the A to S tiers. I know I said you can play with whatever, but if you have the choice, you could play with a Wrestle Druid, a Bounce Druid, a Feral Druid, a Holy Paladin, Disc Priest, even a Retribution Paladin or Enhancement Shaman. Those feel like S tier comps to me, but I would say I'm still rating healers a lot higher because the sustain and also just the consistency to actually win games are more high with a healer than with a DPS. So Holy Priest, Mistweaver Monks, and Restore Shamans are the best healers for Fury Warriors. So again, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Like the video if you liked the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Comment below what you think about that video. Should I do that with more specs? When I say Fury Warrior, I also say Arms Warrior, really. Just Warrior in general. Which comps are best to be played in twos for a Fury or a Arms Warrior? I'd say Fury is more meta, so that's why I'm talking about Fury. But if you want to do the same for Arms, those comps should work as Arms Warrior too. So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Have a great day. We will see each other very soon. Stay safe. Bye.